Welcome everyone to ChessWhiz Arcade, Episode 7, Part 1, Season 1. We are programming the game Uprising, and it's going pretty well. For the last couple of episodes, we haven't been publishing our work out to the website because it's breaking the website. The website's currently a client-side only version where everything happens inside the browser, and we're working on a version where it sends the moves to the server so I can validate them and say, yes, those are legal moves, you're not cheating, and here's your real high score. So we're kind of halfway through that right now. We're stuck in the middle. What we're looking to do today is deal with what we got stuck on at the end of last episode, which was, what if the moves come in out of order? What if move 3 arrives at the server and then move 5 and then move 4? The server needs a way to handle the fact that any move message could be arbitrarily delayed on the internet. And so that was not easy to come up with a solution for, so I spent the last unit of time solving that. So now that that's solved, let's go program it. I haven't done any programming since the last episode, but I'm starting the programming right now so that you guys can watch as well. So let's get started. Here we are at my full screen desktop view. Start, Visual Studio, ChessWhiz.sln. Of course, I name my solutions after myself because I'm that egotistical. Do I have too many browsers here? Let's browse to localhost, which of course is going to break because I'm not running localhost yet. Have I checked everything in? I really should check in at the end of each show. There we go. I am checked in. I think I didn't check in at the end of last episode. So I'm just going to run this thing and just see if it works correctly before we get in on moves arriving at the wrong time. Hello, Orange Fez 69. I'm going to assume that you don't know what 69 means. And I like your two smiley faces. So is this running? Yes, let's see. It is running. I'm on localhost right now. And Uprising. So if you browse to chesswiz.tv, which is this URL right here, then you can play the game, the current client-side version. I'd be interested in your high score, because it's a pretty difficult game right now. I'm going to tone down the difficulty a little bit, but I don't have time right now. So here I am running on localhost, just my own Visual Studio thing. Play now, and it's kind of works. What we did at the end of the last episode was make this thing say wait up there. Just before it says OK. See, it says wait, OK, wait, OK, wait, OK. You can make it say wait. Wait is when the message has been generated by the client, but it hasn't heard back from the server that the move has been made yet. And now it crashes during capture. So that's great because everything's on my machine. The browser is on my machine. The server is running in Visual Studio on my machine. The database is a local SQL database on my machine. So there's really no latency at all, which is why it never says wait. It just always says OK. That's not realistic because when we publish this, we're going to host it at Microsoft Azure services or Azure hosting. So that's going to be a little bit of latency between your computer and Azure's server. And so we can't assume there will be no latency like that. So let's jump into the code. We've got a lot of tabs open. Let's close all documents. Let's go to the hub, which is managing the messaging from the server. By the way, if you have any questions while you're watching, either on the YouTube video or the Twitch channel, whichever you're watching right now, you can feel free to post them in the chat or in the YouTube comments. I'd be happy to take your questions. If you're on YouTube, I can't take them right now. You have to post them in the chat. Otherwise, they won't arrive to me because of the time issue. So this is the hub code right now. When you start a new game, start is called, and you pass in the number of players that are playing. Currently, it's always 1 because it only supports single player, but it's gonna have multiplayer. It creates a new database context. It makes a new game. It says the level start, stop, save changes. Oh, look at that, an extra new line. No wonder my code's not working. But this move player, this is where we started getting tricky. Here's what it does. It pulls up the database because we need to store that in the move. Rookie GTO, so funny. Look at this. He's like, I'm watching the YouTube video right now. So I have to give him the tongue for that. Okay, because he's not. He might be, but no, he's not. It's impossible. Pull out the player who's making that move. If he's not found, then throw an exception. So one of the things I determined with the move handling was this is super ugly code right here to manage the movement. And so we're actually going to just, instead of passing in an inch direction for like 1 to 9, which is the direction the knight is moving, we're going to say direction X and direction Y. So this is going to make way more sense. If not is valid, I just logged my computer. That's interesting. Valid move direction X, direction Y. Then, if it's not a valid move, then obviously I'm going to throw an exception, just kind of like this one right here. Just throw exceptions whenever anything goes badly. Illegal move. Illegal move. illegal move, x, colon, direction x. Period, space, y, colon, space. This is sometimes hard to do. It's going to concatenate all the string together and be like, oh, plus, quote, period, quote. So it's going to be like x, and then the x direction, and then y, and then the y direction. And what's your problem? I didn't miss the plus. You can add instant strings because I'm awesome. I can do that. Now this method doesn't exist. This is legal move. So let's write that down here. We'll probably move it later because it shouldn't be in the hub, but for now I'm just throwing all the logic here. It returns a Boolean and it says, is this a legal move? Is legal move. Now I guess it should be capital I because we're on the server side in .NET where methods are capital I's. This in JavaScript would be small I. Int direction x, int direction y. So, how can you tell if a move is legal or not? It's a night moving. So, question, what made you choose Azure? And the answer is it's free. It's free for me because I have some Azure credits. And I've worked with them before and it can get the job done. Great question though. There's a lot of good choices when it comes to .NET hosting. This is .NET because this Signaler technology is inside ASP.NET MVC. And so it's a little bit limited. I can't host this on a Linux server very well. So it is a Windows server. That limits me a little bit. But Azure gets the job done. Okay. Direction X, direction Y. Here's the way I figure it. The knight can move 2 over and 1 up, 2 over and 1 down, or 2 down and 1 up, etc. Basically, this number can, if this number is 2, then this number has to be 1, positive or negative, positive or negative. So I think I need to take the absolute value. Math.absolute value of direction x is equal to 2. Then return. This is me writing on the fly here. This is me programming live, by the way. You guys, when you program, which you never do, you can sit in your rooms and program as slowly as you want. It's much harder to do this with all the pressure on, like I'm doing. So if you think I look stupid, it's because I look stupid, but it's also because this is a lot harder. So this says, if the direction x is -2 or +2, because the absolute value removes any negative symbol, then return true if the absolute value of y is +1 or -1. Well, absolute value. So otherwise, return false. Now I don't have the otherwise in here. Let's just really copy this because it's super similar. Let's use control for copy. If it's 1, return 2. Return false. So I think this is actually telling you if a knight's move is legal or not. This will do it. Now it's not the simplest way. I mean, I could do it really complicatedly. I could be like, the sum of the absolute values of x and y has to equal 3. And one of them has to be 2. But this is not that complex, not that bad. Okay? So if this is a legal knight move, then it's going to return true. Otherwise, it'll return false. I think that's correct. I should write some unit tests, but I'm lazy. So why isn't it existing in the current context? Because obviously it does exist right here in the current context. Does that solve it? It's not visible. Why isn't it visible? His valid move is sitting right here. Oh, it's his legal move. His valid move is legal move. Who cares if I use the wrong words? So there's some love for Coffee.js in the chat. That's cool. Vim, Tmux, and Coffee is how he makes a living. Cool, we got some real programmers in the chat. Great, you can criticize me all you want. So first it checks if it's a legal move. Okay, done. Now pulls the player. Now this is super easy. Instead of adding this super weird function, I can just say position x adds to position y, and position y adds to, this is just direction y, and done. But not really. To do, prevent moving off the board. We should do that before we actually move the guy, right? It's less than 0, because 0. Or, where's my or symbol? There it is. Super weird keyboard, I can't find my or symbol. So I need to say, is this moving off the board? So let's take the to do off, because that's actually what it does. direction and I'm less than 0, or let's do this all on the next line, then I can copy and paste, and then I can copy and paste this twice more. Bam, bam, bam. We got to check for every side of the board. This is the left side, greater than or equal to, and I think I have a nice globally section here, which has board size in it. So let's actually say is greater than or equal to global stop board size x. So now if the board gets really huge, I'll be ready for that. There. Now my code will check for such illegalities. And if that is true, if this comes out true, then it was an illegal move. And if it's an illegal move, oh, well, I will throw another exception. Right? Let's move these out so they're not in the way. Now, the problem with this exception handling. It's actually the same line. So it's not going to be very visible to the client. It's just going to get an HTTP 500 right now, which is an error code that says there's an error. I don't know what it is, but it's on the server anyway. Yeah. I don't think I should be applying the move right now. So here's the catch. What happens if move number 3 comes in and then move number 2, like in reverse order? So we need to have a number that tells me what number I'm in. Now there's a word for that, right? Is there a word for, let's see a picture of me. I want to see a picture of me. There, picture of me. There's a word for, event x17 says, what are we programming? Let me just answer that really quick. You can browse here. ChessWhiz.tv7-arcade. There. And you can play the game that we're working. It's a game in progress. What is he doing? What is he doing? Poor player. You are a poor player. How do you not even know what I'm doing? I don't know. Something happened to my code. It's all red. So there's a word for like the index number, the sequence number. Yeah, but maybe I'll just call it SEQ, right? That's what a pro C programmer would do. You just make it really, really short because C programmers don't really like verbose coding. But this is .NET. C# is way verbose. So I should be more like sequence number, or the thing that counts the sequence. I don't know. This is going to be a number like the move number, so I could call it move number. Naming variables is the hardest part of programming, no doubt. We'll call it the sequence. We'll call it the sequence. And now we need to put something in the database to store this. So let's go over to our model, and let's get, where's my models here? Uprising player. No, Uprising player, yeah. So right now a player has a position X and a position Y, and it has a score, and it has an ID, and it has a key, and it also needs to have a sequence. Current sequence. That's such a corny term. No one's going to know what that means. I should call it SEQ, so at least you know you should be confused. Instead of when you see sequence, you're like, should I be confused? Because it doesn't make sense. Is your GitHub username the same as here? Yes and no. I have multiple GitHub usernames, and one of them is the same as here. I do own the ChessWhiz GitHub username, but that's not my only one. Hope that answers your question. You're probably checking out my code, right? I'm leaning against even calling it sequence. Current. Call it next move number, and we'll call it move number. Because it's nice to have a cool term like sequence to be like, oh yeah, I named that, it's my thing. But move number tells people what it means a lot better. Like move number 2, move number 3. I mean, that's speaking English to you, which not everybody does, but I speak English, so I'm going to call it move number, and next move number is being stored in the database. Now, I need now to store pending moves, because this is the idea that I came up with since the last episode. When a move comes in, if it's not in order, I need to store that in the database, because otherwise I'm going to forget about it. So let me add a new table, actually. Add an uprising player pending move. An Uprising player pending move. An uprising pending move. An uprising pending move. It's called Uprising because it's in the Uprising context, so to speak. It's part of my game, which is called Uprising. And a pending move. Oh, I already have one called player move. Well, I'll actually use that. It has the milliseconds. It has the sequence number. That's going to be called the move number. It has the direction X. I made it super much simpler by having X and Y instead of a weird thing. And then I think I'll just add a thing that's is pending. Now, I love the is prefix to be like, if it's a Boolean, like it's yes or no, true or false, then I put is in front of it. I just like that because I could call it bool pending. That's like the new thing to do, but is pending resonates with me. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm actually going to use this one and not use the pending move class that I just created. So let's delete that one. Back to player move. Okay, so every player needs a bunch of player moves. Let's check this last move milliseconds. I think I need to store that too. I don't need to store next move number, do I? I think I do. I mean, what if I've got moves for 1, 2, 3, and 5, and then 6 comes in? I need to know, is that pending or not? Yeah, so I should just store last move number, and then I'll be like, well, last move number was 3, so I need to wait for 4, and if it's not 4, I'm putting it in pending. Direction, ms, it's the millisecond on which the move was made. Last move millisecond. I think I'll just kind of move these up a little bit like that. Pretty happy with this. I probably am missing some fields, but let's run a migration and put this out in the database. So package manager console, add migration, add player move. That's going to create something that's going to change the schema of my database. DV Razor is confidently telling me that is good for Booleans. Glad to hear that. No migrations configured for the assembly type ChessWhiz.web. Well, then let's do ChessWhiz.data. That's the stupidest feature. So you have to pick your data, your project that has the data context in this little drop down. Of course, it defaults to the wrong drop down, so you're always getting them wrong. So this is going to add next move number and last move millisecond. Does that mean I already have player move here? Let's open LinkPad and peek in my database, my local database. I do not. Let's refresh it. I do not have Uprising player moves. Okay, so I need to go to my context and add that. A DB set of Uprising player moves exists. There. Now let's add the same migration again, see if it looks better. Bam! Nope. Why doesn't it have it now? I really should have my Uprising player moves. It's public and... Oh, because it's... No, it's right. No. This should come out in my... this should be in my... Oh, is it... Should I be update migration maybe? Is there such a thing as update migration? No. Let's delete the migration and then create it again. Add player moves. Goodbye. Now we run it again. So this is like a thing that manages databases for you. There we go. So this is a new one indeed. It's going to add 2 columns here, and it's going to create a new table called Uprising player moves. That's more like it. It's going to add all the stuff. ID is the entity columns. Got move numbers. Got the player ID. Foreign key into players. Oh, this is looking great. And then it's got a down function for reversing what it did. Okay, let's run that. How do you do that? Update database. Bam! It's updating my database. I would watch ChessWhiz Arcade just for that, because watch this now. Refresh this, and bam! There's the new table right there. And if I select from that, there's nothing in it. But it does have some cool columns. It's got all of these columns. And it even has a foreign key into Uprising players, which it needs to say which player made this move. Okay, so now that exists. So now let's put some logic back in the hub. We are working back in the hub. So now we're going to make the move. So this is actually going to be another helper. Now, I should not be throwing all of the methods down in this hub, but we'll get over that later. I don't think this needs to return anything. It's going to take the player. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to new up an Uprising player move. And it's going to have some great stuff in it. I don't need to set ID. So let's just start mapping it. So this is adding a new entry in my database, and it's going to, for now, is pending as false. Move number equals. Do I have the player already? Yeah, player dot next move number +1. See how great that is? I can also go player dot. Why are you failing me? Oh, my IntelliSense is messed up by my semicolon over there. Milliseconds equals. The current milliseconds. Not so easy to get that. This is apparently how you get it. I really need more files than just this one file, which is growing way out of hand right now. You know what? I'm going to do something totally radical. What is a helper? Because I want to make helpers. What is a MVC helper? What is an MVC helper? HTML helpers, yeah. They're not helpers. I want to make something that does my logic for me, and I want to call it a helper because it helps, but it's not a helper because there's a special term for helpers. And in their helpers, they're not. So I'm going to call it logic. Lógico. Lógica. Lógica. That's logical in Spanish. It's pretty easy to speak Spanish. You just change the pronunciation and you're done. For example, what kind of logic will I have in here? Well, I'll put globals inside of logic. Done. I don't feel too comfortable about all this. Kind of making it up as I go. I don't know where to put my logic. Even though I made a folder called logic, I still don't know where to put my logic. Uprising player equals player. Is there uprising player ID? I mean, uprising player equals player. And ID, don't have to set that, is pending. Okay, so I'm good. Just have to set MS. Player dot moves. Got a problem up here. MS is 0. Okay, now we're done with that. Player. Now we can start programming again. Player dot next move number plus equals 1. Players dot moves. I clearly need a list here. So this is allowing the player to access its own moves. It's a list of moves called moves. Now we can actually say player.moves.add. Now I guess I could actually just, I don't need to do that, because I could just say db.uprising player moves.add moves. That's probably just as good. And then it saves changes. So this is going to make the move for sure. Maybe I'll deal with actual latency later. Maybe I'll just assume everything comes in order. I'll just say that is pending is always false. Seems reasonable. The milliseconds thing, though, this is important. I need to get the number of milliseconds correct. So first, I need to pull this logic that gets the current millisecond out. I'll make a public static read-only it's a getter. That's why it's read-only. And it's going to return this. Return, return. I think there's a problem. I need to put a type in here. Okay. How is this working? Semicolon. How does it work? It works. Globals.getMS is now going to return the current milliseconds right now because it's a read-only, and so it's a getter, and it gets this calculation. You can do that in C#. So globals.getMS. And I don't even have to put parentheses because it's not a function. But it acts like a function. It's just that cool. Okay. So now anytime I want the current milliseconds, I can just bam, get MS, and I've got them. So here I can just get MS. Now, there is a catch. There's one more thing I need to think about here, and that is I don't need to store last move MS anymore, because it's in the move list. The move list has the last move, which has the last move MS, so I can just remove that. Good, I wasn't even setting it anywhere. Anywhere or anyway. I'm going to call it last move number instead of next move number. That way it can start on 0. No, it should start on 0. When it starts on 0 and no moves have been made, then next move number will be 0. So next move number is good. So the last thing that's catching me here is this MS thing on the players. Where is it? Oh, it's on the moves. I need to decide if it should be a reference compared to the current game time. So the game starts up and it's like, okay, I'm starting at millisecond. Because there's so many milliseconds that have gone past since 1970. And then should this number store, let's say it happens after 60 milliseconds. Should it store the number 60 or should it store plus 60, which is big? I think it should store 60, which means I think I should get the offset here. Which means I need to know the current time, which means I need to know that from the game, which would be player dot what game am I in? What game am I in? Dot start MS. You see that? You see that right there? I get the current milliseconds and then I subtract the starting milliseconds. And that should just be a long. Anyway, where's my move? This should be a long, which is an int 64. That'll fix that. The problem is this is going to be another database query because I went to the database once to get the player. And then I'm like, oh no, I need to know the current the milliseconds that the game started on. So I have to go back to the database with another query which says select from the game table where I have the player is the player table. I don't want to do 2 queries for every move. That's too many queries if you ask me. So I'd like to get it here in this query. Hey, I can do this with include. So that's horrible. But it works. This include is a entity framework thing that says when I get this, I want this table also. And then when I do this magic, it doesn't issue a second query. So I think this code's going to work. Illegal move. Make the move. Update the player's position. Update his next move number. Add the move to the moves list. And save the changes. You guys think it's going to work? Is there any bugs in here? Let's see if it builds. That's always a good thing to check. It doesn't build because of my make move thing. I'm not going to use that for now. I am going to need it. Build again. Read only is not valid. Well, then I won't have read only. Build again. Builds. Now I need another migration because I removed a column. Remove last move MS from player. I'm very verbose. That says that I am removing the last move MS, and I'm also altering the MS and making it a long instead of an int. Let's update the database now. One more migration, and here we are. Let's refresh this and take a look. Let's take a look right here. MS, int 64, see that? 64. I'll circle it for you. There is a long, which is twice as big as an int 32. So that means I've got plenty of room to store my milliseconds. Now let's play the game. Refresh. Should be interesting. Get ready, 3, 2, 1. It has crashed already. I think. It hasn't crashed? Oh, it hasn't crashed. It was just loading. Okay, so I'm moving my knight. Now, it says wait, and it never said okay, which is dubious because it should still say okay. Here's my hub again. It should call okay and say okay. Let's go look in the database and see if anything happened in my moves list. There's still none. It could be a bug in LinkPad because I don't trust it. Let's try it again. Let's run the query as a SQL statement. I just don't trust it. There's nothing in there. There's nothing in that table. Pathetic. Let's look in my Server Explorer. Data connections, default connection, tables, Uprising player moves, show table data. I'm going to look at it 3 different ways. There's really nothing in this table. Well, then it didn't work. There's no 2 ways about it. Let's pin that tab and let's set a breakpoint. Let's see what happens when you make a move. I'm going to set a breakpoint and make my move again. Let's see what happens. I love debug mode. Why do you use it if you don't trust it? Well, Rookie GTO, I do like LinkPad, and the more I use it, the more I'll trust it. We'll put it that way. So the obvious problem is it's not actually hitting my beginning breakpoint. Oh, I need to send a move number, and I don't think I'm sending that. That was what I forgot. I want to trust LinkPad more because it's a great tool. So I'll learn to trust it. Manager. So now we're on the client side. Where's the make move thing? Everything's changed, guys. Remember? World.makeMove. So here is where I call hub manager.server.movePlayer, and I'm calling direction. Sending direction, that's not okay. Now I need to do things completely differently. So one of the things I need to do is store how many moves the player has made. Call it num moves. And that needs to be reset in a reset function, but there is no reset for players. It's kind of weird. Okay. This .players.piece.move. That's too bad I can't increment the move number here. Piece.move doesn't increment the move number. Okay, working on the client side a little bit. If the game is running, then make the move on the client side. And also increase the number of moves. But first, before you do those things, tell the server that you're moving. And what direction are you moving? Actually, you need to tell them the move number first, which starts out as 0, so you'll send the 0th move. That's perfect. Now you need to go with direction. So for that, we need to know how knights move. That's what I need. This is the cool client-side way to determine how you're moving. I index into knight moves with direction. This is an array. So if you pass in 1, you get -1, 2, which is the -1 in the x and 2 in the y. Bam, 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 and then it logs. So let's run it. I think this will work. Got my breakpoint set, so now moving will set the breakpoint and hit the breakpoint. Okay, move. Bam! The breakpoint is hit. And let's see what we got. There's the player key to say only players who know this number can move for him. Move number is 0. I'm moving 2 and 1, -1 in the Y, which is up, which it is doing. So perfect. Is it a legal move? Yes. Open up a database context. Find the player. Player is existing. Is this an illegal move? Yes. Why is it illegal? Because of my logic being so lame. Okay. So x, x, y, y, x, 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 x. You see what I did there? You see what I did there? I programmed me a bug right in my program. So I was working off of x instead of y. I need to compare x's and compare y's against y's, apples and apples, oranges and oranges. Now we'll find the next bug. Load. Bam. Go. Let's move right there. Same thing. Oh, I just did it twice. Now I've got it running twice. Stop. I made 2 moves, and so I had hit the breakpoint in 2 different processes. Stop. I don't really want to hit that breakpoint until after I move. Stop. Send me messages. Stop. Browse there. Okay. Hopefully I won't hit it twice. That would be overwhelming for me. Move right there. Okay, here we go. Is it legal? Yes. Got the player? Yes. And now the player key is different because we've created a new game. Every time I refresh, there's a new game. It's legal. I've created a new move object, and there it is. The direction is to -1. The ID is 0. That's because it's the first one in the database. It's not pending, which means pending in this case is if you send move 7 and move 8 before move 5 comes in, I'm just going to say, okay, I made the move, but it's pending. And then after move 5 is made, then I will automatically trigger those. I haven't written that logic yet, but that's the way it's going to work. Move number is 1. It's the very first move. That's fishy. Shouldn't it be move number 0? Milliseconds 16606. That worked. And there's the player right there. Cool. Update the player's position. And add and save changes and say OK. And did it come back and say OK? It says OK. And of course I lost, but let's go look in the database now. Oh yeah, there it is, move number 1. Now, don't I want to start with move 0? Why does it say 1? I should probably start with 0. So I won't add 1. Okay. It works, this is good. Now let's play the game without a breakpoint and make a lot of moves. Ready? I'm going to first move up and to the right a bunch of times. Then I'm going to move up and to the left a bunch of times. Then up to the left. And then down and to the right. And then up and to the right. Now let's go look in the database. Okay, is this awesome or what? ChessWhiz programming. Move number 0. So this is from a different game, and you can tell because player ID is 25. Oh, but this is player 26 playing now. Way better player. And first he moves to -1 a couple of times, then he moves to -2, -1, then he moves 1, 2, then he moves 1, -2. And none of those are pending. They're all player 26. There's move number incrementing, and their millisecond counter is working also. Everything is working. This is mind-blowing, guys. I'm so excited. I programmed a thing, and it's working. It's so thrilling that I'm going full screen. So now we need to think about what's the next step. Now that moves are going into the database, we can do a lot of things with this. What can we do? Well, after a move is made, we should check for a capture because we actually want this game to work. Right now, it doesn't really work. You can't capture anything. Let me just refresh again so I can get player 27 going at it. See, watch this. Bam, it just freezes. This dot spawn is not a function, right? It breaks. But if we look in the database, let's just do this some more. Oh, look, player 27 making some moves. Choo, 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 choo. And those will just sit there forever till I clean up the database. So I am going to leave this the way it is. But that's about all the logic I want right here. This is a lot of logic. It's a full screen. Now I want to check for captures. Which makes me realize I need to actually pull the entire game, not just the player and his game. Because this schema has a lot more in it. There's also Uprising enemies, and I don't have that in memory, and I need it in memory. I need to know where the enemies are, and I haven't pulled that from the database here, so. It's going to be difficult to get all this in one query. Right? Because I want to reference the game, and then I want to reference the enemies list from that player. So I'm actually going to say var game equals db.uprisinggames.where x.players.contains y such that y dot I'm out of IntelliSense key is equal to player key. What's your problem? Can't convert it. It's not a delegate type. You're not a delegate type? Get to way. Players.contains. Players dot. It's a list, so I can do contains. Y such that y dot key is equal to player key. I'm trying to say, get me the game where the players, one of the players is the player with the key that this is this key. And I also have a parentheses problem. I want to get the first game like that. It's not like I need a list of games here. It is not a delegate type. You want me to pass a Uprising player. Oh. I'm going to select the key. It's the first game such that the list of players selecting the key contains the player key. This is more like it. Now what's your problem? Semicolon problem? Obviously this part shouldn't be there. Player. And then this if game is null. Like if you can't find the game. Windows has detected an IP conflict. Windows has defected. So sorry about that pause. I lost my internet for a moment, and now I'm back. So hopefully the stream will come back all by itself pretty fast. Sorry, lost connection. Lost connection for a moment. Okay, so after saying game not found, player key, then I'll say var player equals game.players dot first. There, now I got the player. And I got the game. And now I can say dot Uprising games over here dot include. And I can include all my things. Bam, 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 bam. I can include my Uprising enemies. And I can include borked, which means I'm just wondering if it's going to break if I do that. Because otherwise I don't really know if it's including it. If it's just going to work even when I include borked. So we'll find out. There's my link pad, there's my chat. Is the stream gone for good? See if the stream is back. I'm running in debug mode, so let's connect and make a move. Spin that baby up. I'm hoping for an exception here that says there's no such thing as borked. A specified include path is not valid. Uprising game does not declare navigation property with the name Uprising enemies. Okay, so it didn't even get to borked because it borked itself on Uprising enemies. That's good too. I think it's supposed to be Uprising enemy. Let's just try this and see. You know, I should take borked out, but I want to see it say I can't find any borked. I want to see it say that just so I can feel really confident. Yeah, the stream is back and we lost 2/3. We lost 1/3 of the viewers. That's not too bad. step. Oh, it doesn't have an uprising enemy either? What does it have? Oh, it doesn't have uprising enemies, does it? It's just called enemies. So how do I just include enemies? Let's try it again. So the name of the navigation property is enemies. The type is uprising enemy, but apparently I need to pass the name, which is the property on the class on the code side, whereas on the database side it's called something else. Hit the breakpoint. Now tell me borked doesn't exist. Yes, borked doesn't exist. That's what I'm talking about. So let's include enemies and let's include players. Is that what it's called? Yep. So this is a very good way to query because I'm going to get all of the data in one query. So I don't need to go back and say, hey, I need that enemies list, and hey, I need that players list, right? It's gonna all come at once. So I think I could do this too. Players.moves. Maybe. Because I do want to get the moves all in memory all at once. Now that could be a long query if there's a couple thousand moves the players have made. Maybe I shouldn't pull that. Yeah, what I should probably do is store this data redundantly. Last move number and last move millisecond. That way I never need to dive into the listed moves. I probably shouldn't be optimizing this yet. There's a famous saying programming that says don't optimize too early. Premature optimization will kill your face. So I guess I'll just pull them all and I'll fix it later. So can I do that? Player.moves. Let's see, is it player? Player.moves. So let's see if this works. I'm including players.moves. It's in a string, so it's a long shot. Let's see how it goes. That was pretty amazing. All 19 people that were watching got kicked off when I lost my connection. Hey, it worked, I think. Let's try it again. It worked in a sense that it didn't crash. So, and it got the game, and it got the player. Cool. Now we should see that last move I made. Yeah, player 31 just made a move. Cool, so I got the game. Now I can get the enemies. Enemies. So let's add some more logic down here. Should I make this unit testable? Should I do that? Because I'm about to add some logic, and I'm going to make the whole thing in static classes, which can't be very well unit tested. Not very well. It's not very good form to put all of your logic in static classes. But now I've got a public static class player logic. I'm doing this because it's my program. I can do what I want. So now isLegalMove is here. And its public static rule is legal move. So now when I want to say is there a legal move, instead of saying this.isLegalMove, which is dumb, I'll say playerLogic.isLegalMove. So now all my logics are in the logic folder. It works. Get next spawn location is clearly in some enemy logic. So I know you can't see this menu, but I'm making a new class, enemy logic. Okay. Public static class enemy logic, and oh no, get next spawn location is here. What's a position, man? I don't even know. Now you do. What's an uprising game? I don't even know. Now you do. What's a global? I don't even know. Yes, you do. Wait, you shouldn't have to include that. You should be in that namespace. Uprising dot. Whoa, we got this in the wrong folder. I should go over here in logic. Uprising dot logic. Logics. I should pluralize it. There, it found globals because it's in the same spot. And this namespace also exists for player. Yeah. Okay, so now I've moved my logics out a little bit. This is enemy logic.getNextSpawn location. That's going to help my hub to be less uglies. my code out into the logic. So for example, isLegal move becomes isLegal knight move, because obviously only knights, it's checking for knight moves. And we'll move this out. So we're just refactoring to make things a little bit more beautiful. There is such a thing as an Uprising player. See this up right here? All this bad logic goes in here. I'm so cool. I can use return statements. Programming kind of fast. Player logic is moving off board. Which is stupid tense, so let's change that to is move off board. Can't rename anymore because I messed up. So if the move is off the board, then I'll throw my exception. See what I did there? Fixed it. If this is true, then return true. Or if this is true, then return true, return true, return true, return false. Return the evaluation of that, which is either true or false. Cool. So now that logic is moved out. So I'm cleaning up this thing, move player, because it used to be like more than a screen full. Anytime your function is more than a screen full with font that's smaller than this, you should think about how to move things out. So this is context logic. I can't really do that much with that. But this I've refactored out. Make the move. I don't think I can refactor this out very well because it's really just copying values. So now let's do the cool part. Is this move a capture? Stupid. It's a pretty stupid function. You're just going to loop through all the enemies and say, oh, you're moving on to this one. I need to do better than that. Let's go to the client logic in the world and look for captures. Self.touch. I can't believe I named a method self.touch. Enemy captured. Do you see this? Search the whole solution for enemy captured. It does that. Thinking about where to put this stuff. I mean, I could put it all in the hub level. Like, if there's a capture, do this and this and this and this and this. Or putting it in the logic level. Let's see how I create a... I'm not going to call this get next spawn location. I'm going to call it spawn. And it's actually going to do the thing right here. See this last line of code? I'm not talking about this, but I'm doing it. This function used to return a position where the next enemy should appear. This is the spawn an enemy code. Now it actually creates the enemy and puts it in the game. So now I no longer need to do that in the game create. So enemy logic.spawn game. You pass in the game, and it spawns a new enemy and puts it on the game. So that's how I'm managing state. So now, if there's a capture, I'm going to make a function called resolve move. I've spent like 5 minutes flubbing around. I'm quite a flubber. Deciding how to structure this logic, and I think I've decided how to do it. You just call resolve move, and you pass in the state, pass in the game, pass in the entire game, and the player, and the direction that it's moving. Okay? And I guess I'll make this call now, which goes in the hub. Logic.resolve move. There's the game, there's the player, and there's the move. I'm just going to pass in the move, actually. It's an Uprising player move. And where's my player logic? Don't have to pass in directions, just pass in. So in this game, this player is making this move. And 3 of the things it's going to do are these 3 right here. Move the player in the direction of the move. I don't have access to the database, so that's probably good. What's your problem? Don't you have a direction? Oh, it's capital. Now, finally, I can add code for looking for a player, for a capture. So our captured enemy equals game.enemies.first by default. That means find the first enemy that matches this, and if there aren't any, then return null. And now we'll do a function that's evaluated, x such that x.pos x is equal to root dot is equal to player pos x, and your position y has to match. So I've already moved the player. So now the captured enemy is any enemy that has the same position x and y as the player after they move. So they're on the same spot. It means they captured. If captured enemy is not equal to null, then I'll do some things. You know what I'm going to do? Enemy logic dot spawn. I'm going to spawn a new enemy. Now that is not going to get back to the clients at all. This is stupid architecture, because I'm calling, because I don't have access to the clients. The hub wants to talk to the actual web browsers playing the game through this client's object. Enemy logic can't do that. And it needs to be able to. This is hard. This is hard. I got some encouragement. Thanks for encourage. That's a word. You're encouraging me. So my idea of all these public static classes, it's really coming back to bite me now, because I don't have the ability to communicate back to the browsers that something is happening. What can clients do? Caller, talk to the caller. Others in group. Oh, cool. I can make groups which are all the players in a game. And then I can say in group. I should learn about that. Because right now all the browsers get all of the moves from all the games. Others in group is everybody who's not you in that group. This is good. This is good. I need to send a message that says spawn. It's sad, but I'm pulling all this out again. I'll re-architect later. They always say that. This resolve move thing, I'm just going to do all this logic right now. Just going to make my function even longer. Enemy logic.spawn. Okay. And it's not returning anything, which is stupid. So it needs to return something. It needs to return this new enemy that it created, so I know a little bit about what it just did. Our enemy equals new uprising enemy, return enemy. What's your problem? Enemy cannot be declared because it would give a different meaning to enemy. Enemy already exists. Well, then I'll call it new enemy. After all, it is a new enemy. I'll make this return a uprising enemy. Great, so now I've got the thing. The new enemy is available. Clients.all.spawn new enemy. So this is going to tell all of the browsers that a new enemy has been spawned. And I think that's enough for me. That's enough for now. I realize that this code is half torn apart, but I want to see it happen in the client side. I want to see SignalR do its thing. So let's go into the client side right here. I've got a start game call. I've got an add enemy call. Why is it called add enemy? That's lame. It should be called spawn. World.server spawn enemy. Let's check server spawn. Is this doing what I think it does? Yep, it creates a new enemy. Cool. Build. One of the things the enemy needs to have is a birthday. Does it have that? No, it needs to have that, which is the number of milliseconds. The millisecond number that it started on. Look at that, birth MS. It needs to have that. How do I do this? Globals. Remember, I have this good trick. Get MS minus game.start MS. What else can I do in here? Next promotion milliseconds. I'm not going to mess with that right now. The type is this type.pawn and the game, the next promotion milliseconds. That's how many milliseconds until it promotes again. Need to have that in globals. I already have it in the client globals, I'm sure. Promotion ticks, that's what it's called. But it can't be ticks anymore. So it's going to be 300 ticks, and there's 60 ticks in a second. That's 5 seconds. Which is 18,000 somethings. 5 seconds is 5,000 milliseconds. We'll say 5 seconds. That's how many milliseconds it has until it promotes to the next piece. Good. That's just going to go in the database, and I'm not really using it yet. You got a problem? I thought I could just do that with type. This shouldn't be a long, it should be an uprising piece type. I bet that's going to cause a migration. Add migration. Fix enemy piece type. Let's see if there is such a migration. It's going to change it from a long to an int. From a long to an int. Yeah, let's run that. Okay. I'm feeling better about this now. Definitely feeling better after that bit of a slowdown. Create a new enemy, add the new enemy, and return the new enemy. And then the hub says, I got that enemy. I am telling everybody that it just spawned. So now I need to shut down the world. Right? Well, where's my find results here? Self.enemy captured. I am not going to do that. What does enemy captured do? Maybe I want to do some of what enemy captured does. This is the client side. It increases the score. Yeah. Enemy.captured. Whoa, does enemies can capture themselves? It does nothing. Guess I'll take that out. We're probably not going to need it. Spawns a new one. We're not going to call that. And we will manage that on the client side. So the client side, although the client is not in charge of when the enemies show up, it does need to kind of adaptively predict what's happening. So let me pull up myself here. So in this example, the client side, which is the browser, you capture the piece. The browser does need to say you captured it and take it off the board, but it doesn't get to say where the next piece appears. Instead, the server is going to tell it where the next piece appears. So it needs to do like half of what it's really doing. The first half is take the old one off the board, update the score. Then the second half is the server says, okay, here's your new score. It should match up, so you shouldn't see any problem. But if you're cheating, then the server will override you. And it says, here's the new piece. So with that in mind, I've removed the spawn line, which will create a new enemy, but it will instead, the server will detect the capture and it will tell the client to spawn in a location. So I'm taking out this dot spawn also. This one spawns 2 pieces if you're leveling up. Let's play. And let's put a breakpoint in the hub so we can watch it all happen. Breakpoint right there. What's your problem? Why won't that breakpoint be hit? Error, 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 error. There we go. Just refresh everything. That'll fix it. Okay, here we go. Move. Hit the breakpoint. Captured enemy is null. So it just adds the move and saves the changes. Quick! Quick! Yes, I captured it, I think. So now captured enemy is null. I got 2 moves in here, so made a new enemy. I've got two processes hitting these breakpoints at the same time. Let's see what happened. It didn't spawn, did it? Spawn doesn't exist. So it called spawn on the client, which doesn't exist. Oh no, it does, right here. Let's get some breakpoints on the client side. This is exciting for me. I don't know if it's exciting for you. But I've got this dot spawn right here. I want to see that happen. So I'm going to take the breakpoint out of the server. Oh, it worked. There it is. There it is. It spawned. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It just spawned another one. I'm not sure why. It didn't really work. Does the server tell all clients which piece has been taken? The clients already know where the piece is, so it doesn't have to tell it. The client knows because the client sees the moves also. Capture, and there's the new spawn. Did you see that? It happens even faster than you captured it. Capture, and there's the new spawn. It actually shows up before the night arrives. So the old version, okay, so there's a problem, they don't age. Oh, they do age. Okay, I see a bug. Every time I move, it spawns again. Why? I don't know. So the client and the server both know where the piece is it's going to be captured. So they both know there has been a capture. So the server doesn't need to tell the client which piece was captured, I think. The client can already know that. The client is just going to trust that it's doing it correctly. There's a little bit of trust going on here, but a cheater who's like, server, I moved here really fast and captured a bunch of things. Server won't be fooled because it's keeping track of everything inside the database as well. So I see that captured enemy. Oh, I'm not removing the enemy that's captured. That's the problem. The captured enemy is the first enemy in the database that has a position equal to the player. Well, that means that it's just going to sit there and keep on making captures happen. So let's remove the old enemy. That couldn't be easier. Captured game.enemies.remove captured enemy. I mean, it's like talking to the computer. Hi, computer, will you please remove that enemy? I love it when programming looks like English. Let's try it again. Bam. And now it's removed. Bam. It's working, guys. This is a breakthrough, a serious breakthrough because captures are being delivered from the server. So the game state is being stored in the database here. Here's all my moves. I'm player 34. So you can see here's when I started making my moves. And if we want to pull out the enemies, Uprising enemies, take some enemies. There's currently a lot. Well, that's kind of buggy. Because, well, yes. No, it doesn't. So let's delete all the enemies. I hate C#. Let's write some SQL. Delete star from Uprising enemy. Oh, you don't put star. Delete from Uprising enemies. Okay, I just deleted all the enemies. So now let's see what's there. No enemies. So that's going to help clean things up. Let's also delete. Let's clean everything up now that it kind of works. So let's delete all the games. Can't because of the foreign key constraints. Let's delete all the player moves. Now let's delete all the players. I should probably write a query that just deletes everything. Let's delete all of the games now. Can I do that? Yes. So now nothing exists in the database. So what was the problem we were seeing? The enemies were not referencing the game. I think they were. I think it's going to look fine here. Let's find out. One capture. Now let's go see what's in here. Uprising enemies take. It's not truly being deleted. Oh, I see what happens. So this is something that catches people all the time, and it's just caught me. This remove statement does not delete the enemy from the database. It simply removes the enemy from the list of all enemies in that game. So it sets the foreign key to null. So here's the enemy still sitting here. It was born at millisecond 0, and it's like, my ID is null. Instead of 35. So it's kind of disconnected the link. But I would rather just delete this row entirely. So I need to go instead db enemies remove capture enemy. So that I think I could do instead, but I might have to do it in addition. This might throw an exception actually. Let's put a breakpoint right here and see how it goes. So this is going to remove the enemy from the table itself. Now it might say you can't remove that because of the game that already exists, but no, it's not going to say that. It's just going to work. Bam, bam. An exception has occurred. Illegal move. Oh, that was cool. I moved so fast I got an illegal move in there. Let's try again where I don't cheat. So that's where we handle that kind of thing. Uprising enemies.remove. And it just removed it without any exceptions. And now we look in the database, and there, and the old ones are good. One game from 36, one from 37, so it's working. Great. So I need to, actually the title of this episode was latency management, and that's actually what we just saw I didn't do, because latency management is where I move really fast, and it handles that by setting moves to pending. But I'm too tired to do that right now because I'm getting tired. But it's actually kind of working. Now it doesn't, the pieces are not promoting on the server side. The game logic is not implemented on the server very much, but the capture and spawn stuff is working. So that's pretty nice. That's pretty cool. I'm happy with that. So I think this is a good stopping point because it now kind of works. It's kind of playable on in the browser. It's sending messages and getting messages, and the database is staying up to date. Clearly, there's a lot more to do. I want to make it so that when the pieces promote on screen, they're also promoting in the database, because right now the database isn't tracking that kind of thing. So the you lose message is not coming from the server. That's a problem. And also, what I actually set out to do this episode was if the moves arrive out of order, you just set them to pending and you resolve them later. Didn't even get that done, but we'll get it done soon. So it takes a long time to make a game, but when it's done, it's going to be so epic because we can play it against each other. When this thing is done, the server is going to maintain the game state, and so two people can be on the board at the same time with their own mice, and their moves will be transmitted over the internet. This is my first time ever making a game that's playable over the internet against other humans, so it's a little harder because I've never done it before, but it's definitely more rewarding because that opens up a lot of possibilities in terms of what you can do with a game. This has been ChessWhiz Arcade, episode 7. Thanks for watching.